If I was scared, I wouldn't be doing an interview with you today. I'd be under a table with my thumb in my mouth, okay?
I hope you treat me better than Bush, because he made him look like a stupid moron, which he was.
Hello, welcome to Washington Post Live. I'm Leigh Caldwell. I'm an anchor here at Washington Post Live and also co-author of the Early 202 newsletter. Today, we have such a fantastic program with legendary journalist Bob Woodward. He's going to be talking today about his new book, the release of the Trump tapes. Bob, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And a reminder to our audience, we want to hear from you. So if you have any questions, please tweet at us at Post Live and we will try to get to those. Now, Bob, you released hours of interviews that you did with former President Donald Trump. And this was for your book. These interviews were conducted for your previous book, Rage. But you decided to release these interviews in full because they feel and seem so much different now, even than when they did when you conducted those interviews for that book just a year or two ago. So can you talk about what changed between now and then that made you think the public has to hear about this?
I went back and listened to them earlier this year with my wife Elsa and assistant Claire McMullen, and we were just struck, all three of us, by the clarity and power of hearing Trump in his own voice. He's like a hammer, and in a very, very distinctive way. And so, one of the things that's so interesting about journalism is we labor, it's like Madame Curie's laboratory in many ways. You sift through material looking for something that might be meaningful, and you work at it and work at it. And frankly, in listening to it and taking it to my publisher, Simon & Schuster, it was clear we had to put this out because it sheds new light on Trump. There's a reviewer named Lloyd Green for The Guardian who said, the tapes are a passport to the heart of darkness. I wish I'd come up with that idea and that phrase myself, but it really is, you are entering Trump's mind and worldview in a way is not as clear, at least to me, on the printed page as hearing him.
Well, let's get some of those clips. Since then, there's been a lot of controversy about Trump having classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. I want to play a clip of you talking to Donald Trump where he actually is talking to you about some classified documents. Let's listen.
Listen, those letters. Now, what I need...
You did look at them, right, and read them?
Listen, read them. I memorized them. About the fantasy film. He said the next meeting's going to be a fantasy film. What'd you think of that?
Nobody else has them.
Okay, I hope that stays.
Nobody else has them, but I want you to treat them with respect. I haven't given them to anyone.
I understand.
And don't say I gave them to you, okay?
Okay.
But I think it's okay. Normally, I wasn't going to give them to Bob, you know. Would you make a photostat of them or something?
No, I dictated them into a tape recorder.
Really?
Yeah, yes. And my assistant.
But you were surprised by them, right?
Yes, because
I never saw these.
there are 11 of them, and it shows an evolving relationship of being tough and
He wants to get along.
opening.
Bob, I have so many questions just about this. First, he said, don't say I gave them to you. This was before we knew what we know now. What did you think, first of all, the fact that he gave you access to this?
Well, he was quite proud of this relationship with Kim Jong-un. And he actually said to me at one point, when I say the CIA says that Kim is stupid, Trump says, "Oh, no, no, he's smart." And I ask, "Well, why do you believe that?" And there is, again, this is the voice where he says, "Only I know. I'm the only one who knows." And it is this self-confidence that, of course, traumatized his national security team, because he's going off building this relationship with one of the thugs of all time, the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, and he is, I mean, this was, Kim has nuclear weapons. He hides them. He it does things with them in terms of concealment that really astonished the U.S. intelligence community and the Secretary of Defense at the time, uh, James Mattis, slept in his gym clothes because he was worried that Kim might set one of these off, and Mattis would have to get up and decide whether to shoot down a missile that would be heading to the United States. I mean, this is one of the hidden chapters. Trump did it all on his own. And I asked, "So what are you trying to do with Kim? Get him to the negotiating table?" And he says, "Well, no, it's instinct. Instinct." Now, leaders, all of us have instinct, but you've got to filter it, particularly if you're president in this very, very dangerous situation. So Trump, when he said, "Don't tell anyone," we agreed. Later on, everything in these conversations is on the record.
Hmm. So it's almost an ego thing, like he felt cool or good about the fact that he could build a relationship with authoritarian and that he had access to this, that he was special. Is that where it's coming from?
Well, yes, he's president and he believes in his instincts, and uh, I mean, this is the problem. You can't. There's a lot of self in the presidency, but you can't just do it yourself. You've got to have other people giving advice and weighing the situation. And Kim Jong Un, very young, inexperienced leader, had these dangerous, dangerous weapons, and there were words of uh, harshness between Trump and Kim Jong Un that we know about, that were public. And, uh, if there had been some sort of war or use of nuclear weapons, it would have changed the world. I mean, we still see Kim as footsing around with his nuclear weapons and his missiles and testing. Very, very dangerous, and you've got to be careful. Well, what is Trump? Trump is careless.
In that tape, he also said that nobody else has seen these. So we know now that Trump took classified documents home with him after the presidency. Since he showed this to you, do you believe that no one else has seen some of these classified documents, whether it's this or other things?
Don't know. Obviously, there's an investigation going on. Again, this is the carelessness of taking these documents, which could have revealed sensitive information. There's been reporting that they do. We're going to have to see. But again, what is the job of the president? I asked him once, and he said, "Oh, it's to protect the people." That's a very good answer. And you find in this relationship with Kim, the relationship with classified documents, that you write, he takes them home and puts them in the basement, in the closet, God knows where. And on the coronavirus, this is the matter in which he really not only was concealing and denying what he knew, but it really is, if you go through the whole audiobook, you see his national security advisors warned him, and uh, he lied about it to me, lied about it to the public, and said, "Oh yeah, the virus is going to go away." He got the kind of warning that from
Yeah.
experts. I mean, imagine. I've I think I've covered 16 national security advisors in my life, going back to Henry Kissinger. Never heard of someone coming in that role and saying to the president, like Robert O'Brien said to Trump, this will be the biggest national security threat to your presidency. Matt Pottinger, the deputy, had been a Wall Street Journal reporter in China for 7 years. He knew the Chinese lied, and he told this to Trump. And he said, Pottinger said, my expert contacts in China tell me this is going to be like the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic
Mm.
that killed 650,000 people in the United States. We now know
Yeah.
it's killed 1.1 million.
But in these Trump tapes, uh, there's one person that Trump did not lie to about the coronavirus, and that was his son. Can you talk a little bit about that? And is that proof that Trump knew how deadly and major this COVID was going to be?
Well, what happened on March 19th, so this is 6 days after Trump has shut down the United States because of the explosion of the virus. And Trump goes up to see his son, Barron, who's in age 13. And Barron, and Trump tells me about this and says, Barron says, all of his friends in school, everyone is talking about the virus. What's going on, Dad? And Dad, Donald Trump, the president of the United States, said to Barron, well, it came in from China. The Chinese could have stopped it. Now, I think no one could have stopped it, but it could have been contained. And then 6 weeks later, I learned, and the reporting in detail is in the tapes, learned from his national security advisors, Robert O'Brien and Matt Pottinger, that uh, on January 28th, 2 months before he has this conversation with Barron, uh, Trump is told exactly the danger. Trump could have
Mm.
contained it by telling the truth. He did not tell the truth. And if you look at this, to say to his son, the Chinese could have stopped it, but they didn't, because and in that tape, which is in the package of Trump tapes, Trump says, well, they kept it so secret. What Trump did is kept it
Mm.
so secret and failed. And after he got that warning, a week later at the State of the Union address, the big moment for the president to tell Congress and the American public and the world what's important, what's going on. I mean, just read that. It's Trump getting up. Oh yeah, we China has this virus, and my President Xi's taking care of it. We're working. I mean, a total dodge, a total lie, and this is not just an incidental lie. This is the failure to be the president of the people in this country that he had when I, quite frankly, put it all together, and it took me some time because I'm slow and try to be careful on these things. It's shocking. Listen to that, what he told his son, and then as I discovered 6 weeks later, intensive interviewing at the White House with O'Brien and Pottinger, what they had told the president 2 months earlier. It is a level of deceit And in my view, when you put it all together, as my wife Elsa says, you see the crime unfold right before your eyes.
So you're saying that lives could have been saved, but also could COVID have been viewed through less of a political lens if he was more open and honest with the country?
Yes, I think he was concerned, always talking about his reelection and telling me in the summer. Now, this is 9 months of interviews while he's the sitting president. He can call me anytime. I can call him anytime. Extraordinary moment. And in July, he said, I asked him about this and about the virus again, and he said, "Oh, we have it all under control." Under
Mm.
control. I mean, I said, it's it's the opposite. And he said, well, I have 104 days. He means to the election. He thinks
Wow.
he's going to be reelected by denying the truth? What did he think the top secret PDB that people weren't going to find out about it? He encouraged his national security advisors to talk to me, really made them his agent on this, as you can hear. I'm exercised about this, and this is the man who probably will run in 2024 for the same office which he corrupted more than Richard Nixon corrupted the presidency 50 years ago.
Hmm. We are so close to an election, 8 days away from the midterms. It's not 2024 yet. Donald Trump has not yet announced that he's going to run. But in these tapes, it does reveal his view of how the Republican Party views him and how crucial he is. Let's play that.
Can I ask a political question?
Sure.
And that is looking at this through the lens of a reporter who wants to look at the whole story. You've changed the Republican Party. You realize that?
95% approval rating. Nobody's ever been at 80. You know, Ronald Reagan was 87.
Okay, is this a movement?
No. That I can't tell you. I can tell you.
What do you think?
It's the party of strength and common sense. Both.
And
You know,
who's the
I don't say.
Who's the heir?
And I'll tell you what, the heir will have to be determined. That's to be determined. But like, as an example, the Republican Party has always been known for disloyalty to each other. Okay, they always broke up. I will say this, and this isn't a threat, because it's not a threat, but if they went against me, they all lose their election. Even if they lost 5% of my voters, because nobody has a basis
Okay,
like
now
that.
why-
Bob, we're seeing that play out in these midterm elections where people who are still denying the actual results of the 2020 election could win their races up and down the ballot across the country from coast to coast. You know, Trump knew his hold on the Republican Party. What does it mean for the Republican Party? And does it also mean that Trump is absolutely going to run again?
Well, my reporting shows he's told people, I'm going to run, I'm going to do it. Now, again, we're going to have to see what that is. But as you point out, the midterm elections are 8 days away. Trump is not on the ballot officially, but he is right there. He is on the ballot now. He's going to be out campaigning in the next week in Iowa, Pennsylvania, going down to Florida to campaign. He is a presence, and where he says he's not threatening the Republicans if they go against him, he is. Look what he does. He has a 92% uh, success rate with his endorsements over, I think, the last 3 or 4 years. So it's quite amazing. He has more of a hold on the Republican Party than Joe Biden has on the Democratic Party.
Absolutely. And I would like you to compare your experience and your broad views of politics of this country. What is happening now as far as democracy is concerned compared to what was happening with Nixon? Of course, everyone knows your reporting helped lead to Nixon's downfall. Is what is happening now more severe? Do you worry about American democracy?
I worry about American democracy. Look what the January 6th House Committee has proven. In my view, and I think the view of neutral people weighing the facts and the evidence, there's a lay down case that this was sedition on the part of Donald Trump. But more important, or as important to January 6th, is Trump does not understand the presidency. You've got a responsibility. You have to protect the people. You have to inform the people. You have to care about the people. And you can't walk away from this. And when he was president, I mean, this is a kind of a tryout period, 4 years. If he runs and is elected again, he knows where the levers of power are. He knows you better appoint people who are full-time absolute loyalists to the key White House positions and cabinet positions. He appointed a lot of people who were experts and independent and would not be pushed around by Trump during the first 4 years. But I think he's learned that lesson, and so we're in we should be in a state of anxiety. I say that what Trump did, he put the presidency in moral free fall. That the whole idea of some responsibility, uh, it was all about him. And when he says that in one of those tapes, I asked whether he gets some advice, some assistance on a Law and Order speech he gave. He literally says, "Yeah, I get some ideas, but the ideas are mine." Bob, you want to know something? Everything is mine. Well, everything is not his. It should not be. And this is the danger. You better understand the responsibilities that come with being president. And you look at that record and you listen to these tapes and you see that he just does not understand. He can't, he is a prisoner of himself. He
Hmm.
is somebody who can't kind of uh, 104 days to the election, while 140,000 people have died in his country because of the coronavirus. In part, I'm sure all the experts say this could have been contained if the information he had was disclosed at the time, and he did not. And this is a moral crime. I talk about the moral free fall uh, in the Trump presidency. It's
Yeah.
it couldn't be more vivid, and you get through, and it's a lot to listen to, and you will see it. You will see it in his own voice, and you will see it proven.
I want to ask you something a little off topic.
Sure.
So, given Trump's grip on the Republican Party, something that I've thought about for a very long time is after January 6th, it seems like there was a moment where the Republican Party could have left Trump behind. But Kevin McCarthy went down to Mar-a-Lago, and that picture was published of the two smiling and grasping each other. Was that a pivotal moment? Did that set Trump's place in the Republican Party even after January 6th?
Well, it's an important moment, but it didn't decide the outcome. Look, these people,
Mhm.
I've spent a lot of time talking to Republicans, and privately, as I'm sure you know, my former colleague Carl Bernstein did a great piece on CNN about this, saying that all these people who say they're for Trump publicly, in private, know who
Yeah.
he is and joke about him, and but boy, when he gets up there, he calls the tune and he leads these people. It's a shame for the Republican Party. They don't have the backbone that the Republican Party had almost 50 years ago in 1974, when the moral leader, the conscience of the Republican Party, Senator Barry Goldwater, went to Nixon, and Nixon knew he was going to be impeached in the House. How will it come out in the Senate? And Goldwater in the Oval Office stared down President Nixon and said, "Mr. President, I've counted, and you have only 5 votes to
Hmm.
in the Senate for a Senate trial, and one of them is not mine." The next day, Nixon announced that he was resigning. That was the power of the Republican Party to stand up, because they'd listened to these tapes and seen the criminality and said, "We are not going to have it. We are not going to tolerate it." And Nixon voluntarily quit.
Hmm. Yeah. So, given the status of American politics right now, there's a lot of layers here. You have, the obsession and the grip that Donald Trump has on the Republican Party. You have the election denialism. You also have a lot of disinformation as well as political violence. We saw that over the weekend with the attack on Paul Pelosi, the husband of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. You know, is Trump to blame for this, for an escalation of political rhetoric that has resulted in violence?
Well, he's contributed to the climate of violence. Play some of the clips where he's up there at his rallies urging people to hit someone and take them out. I mean, it's shocking. And but you can't say he caused this particular attack. Uh, find it very instructive. As somebody said, he has laryngitis on the issue of Paul Pelosi, and he hasn't said anything yet. I mean, an abhorrent act, uh, and you would think there would be condemnation across the board, and Trump is silent again. This is the silence of Donald Trump we saw when he's up sitting on the bed with his son Barron, saying, the Chinese could have stopped it, when it turns out Donald Trump could have stopped. No one's going to stop it, but contain it, just simply by being honest and telling the public about the warning he had received. One of the tragic moments in American history.
Mm. Bob, I want to end on a little bit of a lighter note. So profound, but does Trump still call you?
No, he has not called me, and he's not happy I put out these tapes. He's saying that actually he owns them. We agreed, everything's on the record. The whole idea here is there's no corner cutting, in these interviews. A lot of people have said, "Oh, you put that in, when my wife Elsa said that I was telling Trump what to do and shouting at him about what experts told me he should do, the virus, that's in there. So there's no corner cutting. And of course, Trump cuts corners all the time, but he did agree this has got to be on the record. This is the full story of uh, this 9 months when he would call anytime, and the phone would ring, and we'd wonder, Elsa and I, is it one of our daughters? Is it a friend? Is it a robocall? Or is it Donald Trump? And he would just at night, or I'm calling to check in, and oh, I can't talk to you very long, he would say. And then he'd talk for 25 minutes. Uh, Extraordinary opportunity for a reporter, but as I say in one of my commentaries, that I became entangled, and my wife Elsa became entangled uh, in the life. She said this was a marriage of, during that period, 3 people: Elsa, myself, and Donald Trump.
Oh, goodness.
Oh,
Uh,
goodness. I,
threesome, I don't know if you want to be a part of. Um, Bob, thank you so much for your time today. We are unfortunately out of time, but a national treasure, and I'm so honored to work with you at the Washington Post and honored to be able to conduct this interview today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, and thanks to all of you for joining today. As always, you can go to Washington Post Live or washingtonpost.com/live to find this transcript, rewatch this program, or all of our other programming. Thanks so much for joining us.